Alright, welcome to the Focus Faust channel. I'm going to do a really quick tabletop review of the Canik tp9sf Elite S. You can see there, got a little S there. That means it's a little different, so we'll get into that. The main reason for that is this guy right here. You notice that flips down, flips up. That's a trigger block. So when we draw our weapon, finger that forward, fingers on trigger, and you're ready to rock and roll. Hopefully you're carrying condition 1, and that means you're ready to fire. If you don't, then you might have to rack it. Finger forward, rack a slide, pop whoever's giving you a problem. Comes with 2 magazines. These are not very nice Medgar magazines, 15 round. You have the option of getting, I think, 17, 18, and 19 round magazines for these. Typically they are actually for the SFX model of this pistol, which is a longer slide, longer barrel, but it is the frame, so this gun will accept magazines for those guns as well. And from what I've heard, they're basically the same magazine, so they run wonderfully. These magazines feed really well, so I'll go ahead and shell out a few just to show you how easily they feed. Just single fingering them out of there, despite the fact that they have fairly taut springs in them out of the factory. So they might be a little difficult to finger load in the beginning. This one's softened up, I probably could, but my hands are really dirty and a little bit greasy, so it makes it harder. So I'll just use the speed loader because why not? It's convenient. It came with it, so let's use it. Also comes with a paddle holster like this. I'm doing a little liquid mechanics on there because I modified it a little bit to bring it closer to the body. And in the meantime, I'm using this IWB holster that I kind of pieced together as a Frankenstein of sorts. Ran out of washers, used a penny there. It is Kydex, but I put a layer of leather over that for comfortability inside the waistband. Helps mitigate sweat a little bit too, so that's the main reasoning for that. Let's go ahead and take this down real quick, cock it. Let's make sure it's empty. Yeah, we'll fire it, or dry fire rather, and then we'll poop, push those tabs down, thumb forward, and she's off to the races, so they say. I got a little bit of stuff in there. I need to clean it a little. Hasn't been cleaned for about a week, but yeah, everything seems to function really smoothly. You can see that if you were to put this side by side with the Walter PPQ, you would be looking at basically an identical weapon to this one. Side by side, the biggest difference you might be able to tell is the construction of this little insert here that holds the slide block for this. I can't even think of what the hell it's called, but yeah, it's a little insert and it's got the slide block in it, and it seems to function well. I guess this piece is made of steel, but this frame appears to be some kind of alloy. So things that I really do like is the fit and finish is well constructed. I do like that a lot. It's very thick, yet this is pretty lightweight polymer. What I don't like, I guess, the tabs for the rails. They don't seem like they're all that thick, and they're not very long either. However, goes down pretty deep down inside there and probably comes forward too, and that's probably true for this one too. It probably runs through the frame and then comes down to where the roll pins actually go through the frame itself. So I imagine that it's gonna pretty well. Lots of people have 12,000 rounds. Let's see, what am I doing? 20,000 rounds. A lot of really high round counts through these, so I don't imagine people are going to have too much issue with them wearing out. So, yeah, it's really quite nice. I'm gonna put the engine on. Let's not do that. And then I'm gonna slam her closed. Well, there you go, dry fire. But yeah, the ergonomics are excellent. Actually, a lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, it's not as good." I think the big difference between this and the PPQ is in ergonomics isn't so much the shape, which I'm not saying the shape is all that similar. They're not. I think it's the grip. The grip texture on the side panels, it's okay. Very medium. It doesn't really grab my fingernail. Now see, even my little is not quite as smooth as this is. And then I did a little starburst back here that is more aggressive than either one of these, but not by a whole lot. And you can kind of, despite how tall the slide is and how the space between the slide itself and the top of your hand, where your choke up point is at, despite the fact that that is visibly high. You can look at it and see, okay, yeah, that's gonna have a high bore axis. It's incredibly soft shooting. So I really don't think anyone's gonna have difficulty with the snap on this. The slide is fairly heavy. It's got a nice recoil spring, so it really eats the recoil really, really well. So you're not gonna have a whole lot of that muzzle flip just really throwing you back. I'd say the muzzle flips probably about, just from that, about 1.8 inches, I'd say. Now, your grip is going to make a big difference on that. This is, I kind of do like the Israeli style grip and kind of lock this in to that side. And, some shooters with bigger hands, you might actually be pushing up a little bit on the slide stop and inadvertently lock back your slide while in mid flow of shooting. So that could be problematic for you if you have this type of grip, or even I can't even do the other grip. I'm not even used to that. It's me. That's what I like. But on this, it really, I'm just under it. It doesn't put any pressure on there, and I haven't had that happen. It's not been an issue for me whatsoever. However, if you have bigger hands than me, that is a potential, especially if you have little meatier thumb knuckles. My thumb knuckles aren't like very pronounced, so they just kind of sit back there. And when I put that pressure with this thumb over top of this thumb knuckle, it helps push it out of the way a little bit too. In the trigger guard, I'm a guard holder. I did do a little bit of stippling up there. I liked the texture that it came with. It's just kind of like these 4 little ripples. But I like to have, when that muzzle rise comes up, I like a little bit with the trigger guard, so that really helps me hold on to it. It also helps with the pull. This grip does. So I'm not pulling left or right. My problem actually shooting was getting it to not shoot high, and I figured out that the bead of the sight, let's see, not sure if you can see that or not, right about there would be where you need it. So yeah, that is the TP9sf Elite S, and man, let me tell you, this is a sweet shooting firearm. For the price, I paid $389 out the door, tax and all, and I can tell you right now, I got a good deal. This is well worth the money that I spent on it. I probably could have been a little bit cheaper had I decided to travel to go get it. I probably could have picked it up for around maybe $310, $330, somewhere around in there. On the lower end, new. Probably could have drove to Raleigh or Charlotte to do that, but considering the price of gas and the time away from home, I figured that I'd just pay a little bit extra and get it locally. Why not support local businesses anyway? So I went ahead and got it locally, and the guys there took great care of me. So saved me just enough to get a box of bullets to go shoot it. And embarrassing story, actually. This trigger is so light that when I actually shot it for the first time, I expected it to break right about here, and it didn't, and it sort of half confused my finger because I've been shooting a Taurus G2C, and when it did break, I was actually loosening my grip to turn and look at the gun like, what did I do wrong? And it went off. So I kind of had a very loose grip on the lip wrist, and it stovepiped the first round. Very embarrassing. But after I got the trigger out, being as nice as it is, everything ran fine. We didn't have any issues, no stovepipes, no failure to feed, no light primer strikes, nothing. And I was shooting poor ammo, not quite like tool ammo, cheap, which you can pick up probably around $7-8 a box. But yeah, it was cheap ammunition, and it functioned just fine. So that's about 100 rounds through it. So all in all, excellent firearm for the money. Is it better than the PPQ? And that's a question that a lot of people are going to ask, seeing as how it's modeled after the PPQ. For the price, it's better than the PPQ. Finish everything else, not quite. This is probably slightly upgraded from the PPQ. It's got the extended slide stop release. These paddles are a little bit bigger, more pronounced than that on the PPQ. I like this mag release a little better than the PPQ. So all the little bells and whistles are all around just a little better than the PPQ. Even the trigger is rough. I mean, depending on who you ask and how many times it's been shot or whatever, probably, 0.2 ounces lighter, which isn't much, but it is lighter. Some people might say, well, lighter's not better, but the break on this is a little bit crispier than the PPQ. So slightly better trigger, maybe not quite as smooth, but just overall better in performance. All the bells and whistles are a little better. The sights that it comes with are definitely better, in my opinion. No, sights are a touchy subject for a lot of people, but all in all, man, I gotta say, the Turks have really outdone themselves with this firearm. And look out, Walter, you guys have some serious competition. And speaking of, love Walter. Not a lot of people can say anything really bad about Walter. Excellent guns, excellent customer service, great company. Same can be said for SIG, Glock, HK. But just like this gun, not made in America. So if you go get one of these, someone says, "Oh, well, why you got a Turkish gun? They're not friendly to us," or they're not. Well, we fought 2 wars. Very big, bloody, badass wars with Germany and, by proxy, Austria. So if you're running Glocks or SIGs, or Steyrs even, I'm pretty sure they're Austrian, that's not a friendly gun. Just because we're from any military conflict with these countries doesn't mean they're our freaking friends. Angela Merkel is probably one of the biggest enemies of the gun in general. So next time you buy a German, consider that. Think about it. Not to say that this is necessarily better than your SIGs or your Glocks or whatever. I'm not going to go that far. However, this is a better looking gun than a Glock. It's a lot cheaper than a Glock. It takes down very similarly, in fact easier than a Glock. It's actually, in some respects, ripping L in the Glock 34 in competitions with the SFX model of this pistol. Like I said earlier, longer barrel, longer slide, same frame, same internals. So even competition shooters are 40,000-50,000 rounds through these things, and they're not really having any problems. I've heard of one guy who had a firing pin or striker, whatever you want to call it, same thing. And his theory was that his striker spring was a little tough, and that, I guess, just repeatedly over pounding that spring broke it. I'm willing to go, being the welder I am, I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say that was probably an error in the hardening process. It's a metallurgical issue. Is more likely than the spring over driving that firing pin. Now, not to discount his theory, it's just as likely, honestly. But that's my theory. I think a metallurgical issue is probably more likely the culprit. So, yeah, just want to go get one. Call around. They're typically somewhat hard to find. I got the last one off the shelf at my local gun store, and they weren't expecting any in for a while. So if you are in the market, call around. Save your gas. Call around, and maybe they'll have one on the shelf. The guy reserved it for me for a day. That's typically not a common practice with gun stores or pawn shops. But I was like, look, dude, I got the money. I can't make it in time before closing. Hold it for me for one day. Just one day. If someone comes in to buy it, just tell them, look, I'm holding it for a guy, and I gave him my number and told him to give me a call, make sure I was going to be able to come in. I ended up being an hour late because of a tattoo appointment, but made it in time, got the gun, we're good to go. Good luck finding another one in my area. They're all sold out at Rural King. They are all sold out at I can't even think of the name of the place. Another pawn shop / gun store, but they didn't have one. They had the SFX. They actually had a few of those, but the SFX, at least they had only the RMR optic included model. So most of them just come ready for RMR, but this one, the ones they had actually had it on there, which jumped the price to, I think it was around $625. So that was a little out of my price range. So I had to stick to. I really didn't want a gun that big anyway. So had they had one that was closer to $425, I probably would have got it. But I said, nah. I like the compactness of this. It feels excellent in the hand. I mean, look at that. I mean, it fits me perfect. This is the perfect gun for me. Controls there. You know, that's hard to pull up with one hand. You have to adjust your grip to make it, or maybe just use both hands, whatever. But to get rid of that, boom, no problem. Elite S, go get you one. Is it better than PPQ? I'm gonna go on a limb and say yeah, I think it is. Like and subscribe.